feel free to ask questions and we'll try to get to them.
What about if the mic's a little closer?
Perfect. Oh yeah, that's better.
Much better. There we go. Everyone can hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Fantastic. Welcome to Kick Up Your
We're
Cosplay
rolling.
for $20 or less. We're happy to have you this morning. Now we're going to send around a box with slips of paper. There's a divider in it. One side says blank, one side says name. Write your name on the paper and you will be entered in a raffle to win a wig styling stand or a bias tape maker, both of which we're going to talk about their uses today during our panel. They're products that we both, that I use. She's here for banter. I'm the one doing a lot of talking. We're along for the ride cosplay together. So
I'm just annoying.
yeah, more or less.
Also, quick note, please make sure that both the pens get back in the box because I'm a cheapskate and those pens are like babies to me.
Yeah. So at the end we'll raffle that off, and I'll probably say a reminder halfway through in case you came in and didn't get to write your name on there. So without further ado, my name's Bree.
And I'm Ashleen.
And we're along for the ride cosplay. Just so you're aware, we are recording this panel, at least we're trying to.
So don't say anything you'll regret.
Well, that, and I will be repeating any questions I get into this microphone because it won't pick you up, but then it will pick me up. And if you ever want to go back and watch this panel and see if you missed anything or hear your answer to the question again, we're going to try to post it on YouTube. That's our channel name too. That's us on Facebook. If you want to find this again, write that down. Find us on Facebook right now. Like our page. We do have a YouTube channel currently. There's no videos. This will be the first video. All our stuff from Detour. So, yeah, without further ado, does anyone else want to take a picture of this slide before I go through? Or are we good to go? Seems good. Okay. So, we have several parts to this presentation. Most of my background is in sewing. I have been cosplaying. This is my 9th convention, well, 9th detour. So I've been cosplaying for like 8 years, I think that would come out to. But I didn't actually really get into sewing until I went to college and got a work study in my college's theater department. And most of this is just tips that I learned there that I don't see widely available online and people don't always realize. Because it's kind of an odd thing, Kick Up Your Cosplay for $20 or less, the panel, it shouldn't necessarily seem disorganized, but a lot of this stuff is like just random things that I've noticed. Some of it might seem like beginner stuff, so if you're not new to cosplay, I'm sorry if that gets boring. Some of it's just a mishmash of various things like helpful tools that are cheap, techniques that are cheap, all sorts of things, because I've cosplayed as a middle school student, a high school student, and a college student, all on a budget. And that's tough. So, here we go. So if you don't already know, all of the major craft stores take coupons, and it's fantastic. So all Joann's, Michael's, Hobby Lobby, they'll all take each other's coupons. So you can always download all the apps, use all the websites, sign up for all the emails and all the texts, get all the coupons, although beware, because especially Joann's really likes to say, Michael's doesn't sell fabric, so you can't use their coupons on our fabric, which is not a fun time. And one thing I can tell you is when you get to the end of your project and you need like 20 little items or like 5 little items and you got 3 coupons, it can get to be a pain. So if you can, try to stagger out those small end of the line purchases that you don't necessarily think of, because you'll be sitting there in the, with the cashier like, can I do 3 separate purchases and use these 10 different coupons? And usually they're nice and sometimes not so much. I mean, not that they aren't nice, it's not their fault. I don't want to be one of those people who's like retail worker stuff, but it's just stressful for everyone involved. So try to do that ahead of time, coming from someone who never does that ahead of time. So, next up. So washing your costumes. This is one of the harder things in my opinion, because we obviously want our costumes to hold up, but a lot of our costumes can't go in the washing machine. Which is a real struggle because, well, they get smelly. We all sweat on the con floor. So different things that I've done. If you buy plain vodka with no flavoring whatsoever, you can spritz it on garments. It's a very old-fashioned way of cleaning. It deodorizes and sanitizes, and it will evaporate in time. Just don't do it right before you gotta wear it if you don't want to smell like alcohol.
Question. So I have had to use coffee or tea to do some stain work on a cosplay. What would you say is the best way to wash those? Like, is the vodka going to ruin that staining effect? Because after having it for a year, it starts to get musty.
So, like I said, I'm going to repeat questions. So, what way is best to clean items that have been stained, like things with coffee and tea? I've never actually had to do that, so I'm unsure what I would recommend you doing. I would think the vodka spritz is the most likely option, and I would suggest taking your fabric, if you have a small scrap of it that's dyed like that, and then just spritzing that and seeing what happens. I always recommend test strips on any fabric, even though I say the vodka spritz is a good idea, which I agree it is. It's a very old-fashioned way of cleaning. Always, 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 always test everything on a scrap of fabric, especially if you buy, like, all fabric to me is relatively expensive because I usually have to buy large amounts of it, but especially, you know, when you get into the $15, $20, $30 a yard fabrics, test everything because it's not worth ruining the fabric. So, sorry, that's not the best answer.
No, you're good.
Okay, so this is like a portion where I just go through like some of the best tools that I've found for pretty cheap that I find super handy and will make your life a lot easier when sewing. In my opinion, personally, they're what I like, and they should all be $20 or less, especially if a coupon. They might not be $20 or less before a coupon, but they will be after. So, some of those include, and I got my sewing box here to show you. And it's, if you guys want to come up at the end and see some of the stuff up close, I know you're far away, so bear with me. So there's pinking shears. If you guys can see, these are jagged. And I'll have a picture of what that does to fabric later if you don't know. But those are really good for finishing edges. And again, this is just a Friskers. If you buy Friskers, it should be $20. It should be, I believe I paid $13 for these with a coupon. They hold up great. Friskers is an excellent scissor brand, perfect for that mid-range budget. Ginger is what people really like, but that's going to be $50 and $60 a scissors. Sorry, scissors. Oh, I don't have an iron with me. That's a little hard to transport. But iron, that's very important. We'll talk about that later too. Hand sewing needles, very important for other things we'll talk about, and just really good to have on hand because honestly, sometimes it's just a lot easier to use a hand sewing needle for certain things. Magnetic pin cushion. This is one of my most favorite things in the world. They're a little expensive with a coupon, usually like $14, $15, and if you don't want to spend that, you can just take a magnet and glue it to the bottom of a plate. But if I drop my pins, so if I know I drop pins on my floor, like that. And I shop at Aldi, and this is the top of a tin from a cookie. And for traveling, I love it because I recently discovered that it just like fits perfect.
Nice.
So, if you want to try that.
A side note, before she got that, there was one time when we had been at her house working on costumes, and later we kept finding pins in the carpet, so.
Yeah, I've found many pins and push pins with my feet. I've yet to have to go to the hospital, so that's a bonus. To people who just came in, there should be a box going around with raffles in there. Write your name on a slip as it comes to you, and then put it in the opposite side of the basket that says name on the divider. And we're drawing for this, which is a wig styling stand, and my bias tape maker is somewhere. So, yeah, this is one of the handiest things I've ever had. Like I say, if you don't want to pay for one or you want it to be bigger, strong magnet glued to the bottom of a plate, bam. Okay, chalk pencil. This is a chalk pencil. Again, like I say, if you can't see it well now, you can come up afterwards. I'll be happy to show you any of this stuff. So basically how it works is it's like a mechanical pencil with chalk. And you can mark any fabric with it because it's chalk and it comes off. And usually if you buy this set, it comes with like 8 different colors and a bunch of white. So it's ready for any fabric. You can just buy refills. And I think with a coupon, it was around $10. One of the best tools I've ever had, lasts a long time. Sometimes the chalk breaks if you're prone to dropping things like I am. It's cheap to refill, so that's awesome. And the pen itself, I've had this for year and a half, never broken. I've never heard of them breaking. I don't know how long they last, but I'm gonna guess a long time. And disappearing ink pens. These are some of my favorite tools. Right here. They come in fine point, normal point. You can buy them in several colors. The purple will just disappear over several weeks. I believe pink will disappear in a few hours. Blue, I think, disappears in a couple days. And you can buy one that will only disappear if you get it wet. Also, if you do need these to disappear faster, because these are the ones that are generally available at Joann's, and like I say, they'll last for a couple weeks. If you need them to disappear faster, get it a little wet, it'll come right out. Okay, and then there's a couple other tools that didn't make it on this list, probably some that you've heard of. Seam gauges, really great for hems, super cheap. They bend easy, but you can bend them back, and again, super cheap. I don't remember buying this one. I think I got it out of my sewing kit that I got when I was like 5, so. But they're cheap. They're pretty cheap. So this is what I like to call the spiky wheel of death. If you come up close, yes?
I'm sorry, what does a seam gauge do?
So a seam gauge, it's about 6 inches long, and this little divider slides wherever you need it to. And what you can do is, like for hemming really precisely, move it along your hem, mark, 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 mark. You can use it to gauge your seam allowance on your machine, which is really nice. If you don't have a machine that actually has that marked on the plate. None of mine do, sadly, so I use this a lot. And it's just a lot easier. Like I have one of those big 24-inch clear plastic rulers. That's really hard to manipulate into spaces sometimes. This is super easy.
Thank you.
No problem. Oh, by the way, for people listening to this later, they asked what a seam gauge does. Okay. Spiky wheel of death. I forget what they're actually called, but in the
A
costume
tailor's
shop, that's
wheel,
what it's
isn't
called.
it?
A dressmaker's wheel.
A dressmaker's wheel.
Dressmaker's wheel. Thank you. These are handy. I'm not sure if I have it with me, but I buy what they call tracing paper, and you get it in strips at Joann's. Personally, I like the stuff with wax. Generally, the wax-free is what most people like, and that'll just brush right off because it's basically chalk. But you can put that on your fabric between your pattern or between layers of fabric, mark dots, mark lines, mark out the whole pattern that way. You just trace along whatever you want to trace with this, and it'll leave little dots along the pattern. I use it for notches and dots mostly. I won't trace out a whole pattern with it. And that's just super handy, but otherwise, I personally otherwise just end up like cutting out the fabric and then trying to manipulate it and just flip it and make imprecise marks on the other side that didn't get marked. So to me, that makes it a lot easier. Anything else on this list that I didn't talk about? Oh, actually, I just got these recently and I love them. They're called crafting clips. And you can use them on fabrics that get pinholes really easy, so your silks and stuff. Or in my case, what I love them for is things like applying through several thick layers of fabric that are really hard to pin through. They just clip right on. Obviously, you can't sew over them like pins. You will break. It won't go under your foot. But they're super handy. $10 on Amazon for $100.
What are they?
Came with they're basically crafting clips. Crafting clips. They're also called sewing clips, but then
Okay.
you'll just get the Clover brand, which is a lot more expensive.
Okay.
If you just go to Amazon and like type in crafting clip, something like this should come up.
Okay, thank you.
So, and like I say, close-ups afterwards are all really handy. Tweezers, yeah. Serger tweezers are also super nice. Every so often, my machine likes to get fabric caught all around the bobbin case. Get a nice fine pointed tweezers and you'll be really happy with yourself because they make it a lot easier. Otherwise, okay, next slide. Ironing! This is one of the biggest, easiest ways in my opinion to make your costume look infinitely better. And most people have access to an iron. If you don't, you can get them. Decent irons, my roommate has one for about 12 bucks at Walmart. Also, any hotel that you ever stay at will probably have an iron. I know for a fact that this one has an iron in every room with a full-size ironing board. It is important to iron hems, but also seams. You want to iron every seam open as you sew the garment, because that makes it all lay very flat and very nicely. Sometimes it's very hard to iron curved seams and arms. those get difficult. I don't have pictures of them, but there are products out there. It's called a tailor's ham, which is about $14. And it's about yay big, and it's just like a ham shape. And that lets you iron curves. And then they make sleeve boards, which I know this kick up your cosplay for $25 or less, but it might be $21, so bear with me. And a sleeve board, it's just, it's got a board up here, and you slide the sleeve on, and then you can iron the sleeve. It works really well, worth it every time, and it makes the cosplay look so nice. Also, if you're lining anything, turn the lining to the inside of the garment. Just make sure that the outer fabric's like, you just got like a centimeter or two of it on the inside. Iron that flat, otherwise your lining looks puffy. And that is one of the easiest ways I've ever found that makes your costume look so much better. Also, after transit, if your costume is just wrinkly, iron it. Just iron everything. Ironing is a big tip.
But don't touch the metal part, you end up with a funky scar. So,
Yeah,
just don't.
it hurts. And also be careful of steam. If you don't know that, be careful of steam with an iron. Also, if your iron doesn't steam, if you don't get one that steams, get a spray bottle, just spray the fabric as you go. Super easy. Clipping threads. This is a small thing, but it's really easy to forget. I do it all the time. But make sure you clip all those long threads left after you sew. I've seen pictures. Yes?
Does the steam just keep the fabric from burning?
Does the steam keep the fabric from burning? The steam no, not really. You gotta be very careful when you iron. The steam makes deep wrinkles come out better, and it just makes the seam iron open better. If you're worried about burning your fabric, always do a test swatch. And you can also put like a dish towel, a clean dish towel between your fabric and the iron if it's a really delicate fabric so you don't melt it. I accidentally melted part of the shirt she's wearing right now. Yeah,
Where?
but yeah, see, I fixed it. But anyway, it's easy to do. Be careful. Test everything on a small swatch of fabric. Yes.
What are things that shouldn't be ironed?
What are things that shouldn't be ironed? I don't know if there's necessarily anything that shouldn't be ironed, so much as things that need to be treated very delicately. Anything with silk, be very, very careful. Well, I suppose you shouldn't iron pleather, probably. Anything that would melt. Oh, that's another thing that you reminded me of in terms of ironing. If you ever melt anything onto your iron, be it interfacing or acrylic paint, there's a simple trick to get it off. Take a couple dryer sheets that are clean, are brand new, iron them until it comes off. It's worked every time for me, and it makes your room smell great, and your ironing board will smell really nice. And it's just a super easy trick. I got that from a YouTuber called Komori Nuhime Cosplay. And I've tested it on interfacing and random gunk my roommate burned to her iron, and I know that YouTuber used it on acrylic paint. So I can't say it'll work for everything, but it seems to work for a lot. But yeah, in terms of things that shouldn't be ironed, mostly, yeah, like leather and pleather probably shouldn't be ironed, but otherwise, most things just take it delicate if you aren't sure if it can handle it. Most synthetic fibers do pretty well. Just never turn up the heat all the way. Cotton and linen will need high heat, and they will need steam. So, any other ironing questions?
I've got one.
You've used parchment paper too as a barrier.
Okay, cool. That's good to know. Parchment paper makes a good barrier for ironing. Thank you very much. Okay, clipping threads. As I was saying, small tip, pretty easy to do, pretty easy to forget. I do it all the time. Try to just if you're in the hotel room and you're really panicking last minute, just go through your garment, see if you left any threads, because it's really easy to do when you're on con crunch at 2 a.m. and dying, and you're like, I don't care about clipping threads right now because I'm gonna die and I just need to get this done.
I think at Fusion there was a thread that wasn't clipped in my skirt, and it kept getting caught on my heel and started pulling the seam out of it.
Well, that and I've seen cosplayers who have amazing, beautiful costumes, and then with how fancy and high definition all our cameras are these days, you just look at their hem and there's one little thread hanging there, and then they hate the picture forever. So try to. We're all flawed humans though, and I never get them all. It's
Stuff's
hard.
gonna happen.
But it's one easy thing. If you can just do a check when the garment's done even, flip your threads. Zippers and hand basting. So I don't know about anyone else, but to me, zippers are one of the most intimidating things ever to put into a garment, but they're one of the easiest closures you have ever seen to button up and do. They're super simple to like use. A lot easier than buttons, a lot easier than snaps, like they stay closed.
Much easier than pinning.
Yeah, I put snap tape down the back of a shirt last year, and I spent the whole con having people redo my snaps. And I would just walk around times with all my snaps undone, but I had like an undershirt on because I moved and the snaps came undone. So,
I remember that.
as you can see, this picture has a hand basted in zipper. I hope you can see at least. So what you're going to want to do is you pin in your zipper like you normally would on your sewn up seam. But then before you put it through the machine, put a bunch of hand basting stitches in. If you're not sure what that is, it's just very long stitches that'll hold the zipper there but are super easy to seam rip out. Then you take out all the pins so you don't have that bumpy surface to try to sew over. And then once your zipper's in and you're satisfied with it, just pull out the hand basting thread. My recommendation too is, since it's going to come out anyway, use a very different color of thread for the basting than the color of the zipper, because then it'll be easy to seam rip out later. I was super terrified to put in zippers. Then I took a costume class and they showed me this. Not as scary anymore. Very helpful. Yes.
What if you have zippers on leather?
What if you have zippers on leather? Zippers on leather. I have yet to have to put that in. In that case, I mean, I suppose it depends on how thick your leather is. If you can hand baste it in, go for it. Otherwise, I don't even know how you get the pins in.
Maybe fabric glue
Yeah, maybe.
or double stick tape or
Oh,
something?
we got more in the back.
Just to add on to that, you were using industrial needles and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Ones that don't snap easily.
Yeah, the really thick things like leather, pleather, all that, there's very special needles that are very big for that.
That's what I was gonna say too. Places like Michael's and Hobby Lobby and stuff, in the sewing machine section, they actually have leather needles that are for sewing machines and for hand sewing.
Yeah, and as long as we're on the topic too, just so people are aware, like when you sew those fabrics, from my understanding, because I've yet to have to do it, they have a tendency to stick in the machine, particularly leathers.
Yes.
They make Teflon sewing feet for your machine and Teflon stickers that you can put on the bottom of your sewing machine foot, and then it'll actually go through your sewing machine and it won't get stuck as bad.
You hope.
Huh?
I worked with like fake leather for my cosplay and it kept jamming, so it kept bubbling and being puffy, and I had to rip it out 3 times. So finally I was just like, fuck you, and I just like had to like pull it through my machine to get it to sew flat. But I
Okay.
didn't know about hand basting.
Hand basting is handy if you can do it. I don't know how easy it is to do through leather though. So yeah, I should say my expertise does not lie in leather, spandex, and all those really specialty materials. I mostly sew pretty big, like frilly things like this.
Yeah, I think we're working our way up to that.
Yeah, maybe someday. We'll see. Leather's scary. And then fake fur is just annoying. I don't touch that very often either. But that's more of a choice. So this trick should help you put in a zipper. Practice a few times before you do it. Maybe buy a cheap practice zipper. Practice a few times, even if you don't need to do a cosplay. I recommend trying to practice the techniques before you do them if you can. But I'm always one of those people who waits to the last minute and then is like terrified they're going to ruin the fabric the night before the convention because you didn't try your thing.
I think one of the concerns with hand basting to leather would be leaving holes on the other side. So if you're going to be putting your zipper on a seam, unless it's just a cosmetic zipper on top,
Yeah.
which in that case wouldn't matter much. But I would just hand baste it to the seam edges
Okay.
rather than all the way through both layers.
Okay, yeah. That sounds like a good idea, hand basting through the seams. Yeah, I'm sorry I don't know how to better answer that question. I just have not worked with those things much. I sadly have not had opportunities to work with a lot of things, like specialty materials like that. So, grading seams. This is one of my things that I didn't learn till late, but it's really nice. If you've ever like had a seam that has 3, 4, 5, sometimes 6 layers through it because cosplay requires crazy things. What you want to do is, oh, that's not a very big photo. I'm sorry, guys. Let me escape. I can try to escape out of this, maybe? And make that bigger for you. That should do it. Better. Okay. So grading seams is just where you take and you grade all the layers down a little shorter, but you want to leave one taller than the other, so on and so forth, as you can see in the photo. Now this will make it so that, especially if you have an enclosed seam, it's a lot less bulky, and if you're enclosing it, after you've ironed your seam open, iron the whole bulk of the seams up or down into the garment, whichever way they're going to look less bulky, after you've graded them. I highly recommend this. It helps a lot. It makes it look less bulky because some of those fabrics can really just like build up and like you can see the bulkiness on the outside. This was really helpful. Finishing edges. This is one of the veins of my personal existence with costumes because when we use these special satiny fabrics at least, the edges fray. I've had seams come out, I've had waistbands fray out, learning the hard way how to finish them. There's a couple ways. One of my personal favorites is bias tape. You can get these packs of this at Joann's for a few bucks. Again, I know it's far away and hard to see, so anyone feel free to come up at the end and look at this. This is called single fold bias tape, which means that it's just got these two edges here folded over. There's also double fold bias tape, which has another fold in it. You can either fold it over the edge of a fabric as such, or you can sew in like the ditch of the bias tape, the fold, on the edge and then flip it to the inside. And then you won't see it, and then you just sew it down later. The inside of my shirt has it, and since I have a tank top, if anyone wants to see that afterwards, I'll show you. It's super handy. That's one easy way to finish an edge that doesn't require special, like expensive materials because, well, some of these techniques are expensive. This is the most expensive, it's the most unrealistic because even the cheapest serger is probably 150 bucks unless you can find a decent one on Craigslist. They're hard to thread, they have 4 strings, but it really is nice to have. When I was in the costume shop, this was one of the nicest things ever. It will finish your seam and it will look nice and it will never fray and it will be beautiful. It also cuts off a nice straight edge as you go, really thin, but it's expensive and hard to, come by. Also, I personally don't have space to set up all the machines that would be nice to have, so there's the space thing too. Pinking shears, like this thing up here, are much cheaper, 14 bucks, and then you just cut it down, and because it's jagged, it doesn't really fray bad. It will still fray some, particularly fabrics that are known for fraying, such as satins, taffetas, all that, but it will fray far less, and you shouldn't get fraying up into your waistband and stuff. So this is a super easy way to fix it. Fair warning, they hurt your hands, especially if you're cutting through 2 layers of fabric. They're very hard to, they're a lot harder to move than normal scissors because they're jagged. And also there are just some fabrics that I would never use them on. Linen's gonna fray even if you use this. The next method that as long as your sewing machine has a zigzag stitch, which most of them do, is just run a zigzag down the edge of your fabric. That's what I did when I worked with linen because pinking shears don't work. And what'll happen is you'll experience minor fraying until it reaches the zigzag stitching, and then it cannot fray past the zigzag stitching. So if you want to make sure that you aren't going to have any fraying the day of, let it fray down to that stitching and or cut it super close to the stitching. You won't get much fraying. I personally just sewed it up and didn't cut close to that. It'll fray over time and I'll just keep clipping as I go. Super easy. It's tedious and it takes a lot of fabric, but then you won't get fraying, which is nice. One last way to do it, but if this is annoying and hard to do, is French seams. I don't have a tutorial in here and it's kind of hard to explain. If you Google it, there will be tons of tutorials, and hopefully eventually on our YouTube channel I will also have a tutorial on it. But it basically encloses all the fabric within the seam itself. It's kind of impractical to do on a lot of garments, but it's used a lot for working with sheer fabric so that it looks pretty. And it's also I've just known people who do sew exclusively in this because they don't have to do it very often. I usually gotta have a good reason, but you can. So that is one way to, another way to do seam. So this is the organization part of the panel, slowly, because why this actually does not help you physically sew your garment, it will make cosplaying easier, and generally it's free. Or cheap, depending on the way you like to organize. So in terms of organizing, it can just help you make your costume better, in my opinion. And I struggle with it a lot. But what I've started to do is clothespins are one of my favorite things because you can keep all your pieces of your garment together and all the pieces of your pattern together. And I also personally, so if you buy a sheet of insulation foam, which you can get pretty cheap at Home Depot, and you cut it to the shape of your wall and you stick it against your wall, you can pin patterns into it because patterns are super lightweight and it's foam, so you aren't pinning into your wall. Especially for those, I don't personally live in apartments, but if you live in an apartment and you can't damage your wall, I actually have had an insulation foam headboard for years that we stick things to. They can hold a lot, shockingly. And that's super helpful. And just finding a method of organization that works for you. I don't have a ton of tips for this one because it's so personalized to every individual. But it will make it infinitely easier to do your costume if you're organized and not constantly searching your apartment for that one pair of scissors, that one marker, that one everything. Another important thing. This is something that happens to me a lot. You're sewing at 3 a.m. You've been sewing since 3 p.m. with, minimal breaks. And for me personally, that's when I just start to say screw it to quality and it goes downhill. If you're ever doing that, just quit. Even if it's the night before the con, it's not worth it. Like, just stop what you're doing. You will not finish that cosplay, and that's okay. If it's not the night before the con, you still have some time. But it's not worth your quality going downhill to finish the costume, because then you're going to look at it after the con and want to remake it, probably, because you weren't happy with it. So that's just kind of like a small tip. So I don't have a ton of expertise in wigs, but from my crash course last year and getting into it, small tips, mostly tools. So I don't have pictures of a lot of these tools because they're pretty self-explanatory, but they're all handy. So scissors, most of this can all be picked up at a Sally Beauty Supply or online. So scissors obviously is handy. Razor combs are the thing that's pictured. You can buy varying kinds of them at Sally's, on Amazon. Generally it's good to get ones that have replaceable blades. I think most of them do. I think it'd be pretty rare to get one that doesn't. But they allow you to hold a section of hair and comb it through, and it cuts it, but it doesn't have a blunt edge, because the blunt edge is very unnatural, doesn't look the best. So that's really handy. They're one of my favorite tools personally. Wig heads, pretty self-explanatory, handy to have. And then a wig stand. So if you buy the right wig head that has a hole that gets narrower as it goes up the wig head, it'll slide onto one of these, and then you can clamp it to any surface it fits over, and then it holds it. If you've ever tried, I've done this, ever tried to style a 36-inch wig on a foam head that has no weight and it's fallen off the edge of the table over and over and over again? Never fun. Okay, did anyone not get to put their name in the raffle? Okay. Oh, thank you.
Oh, thank you.
So, and this is super cheap. I actually, part of the reason this is a raffle prize is because on Amazon, they're $6.99 for one, or there was an offer $7.99 for two. Pretty cheap. They clip to anything. Well, most anything. Actually,
Not the
no
hotel counters.
No hotel counter here do they clip to because they're this thick. But the ironing board works.
So our hotel room got covered in hair.
That, and there's a shelf in the closet, oddly, that it clipped to. So be resourceful when it comes to clipping this to things. But it's super handy. You can also buy suction cup ones, which would have clipped to the counter. I regret not getting that.
Not gonna walk through the light.
Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Did you not get to fill out in the raffle?
I just heard it.
Okay. Go ahead. Anyway, so super handy because I've had wigs fall off the table and then it kind of like ruins your progress, especially this wig used to be super curly. And when you're trying to detangle that, it ruins all your progress when it falls off the table. And even the suction cup ones are about $8. I've only seen the suction cup ones from Arta Wigs, which we'll talk more about them later. But you probably can find them on Amazon. I was just in a hurry to get a wig stand. So, detangling spray, freeze spray, those are both things that you can get from Arta, Amazon, maybe Sally's, sometimes Target I've heard. So the freeze spray I like to use, and one of the best wig brands in terms of wig care products I've ever seen, is Got to Be Glued, and 2 like the number. I've heard that sometimes you find them at Target and drugstores and like all over the place. I've always bought it off the internet. Personally, the freeze spray is basically just wig hairspray. You can't use human hair, well, I'm sure you can. It's not recommended to use human hair products on wigs because they're supposed to react with the proteins of human hair. Obviously wigs, unless you're buying human hair wigs, don't have proteins.
I actually had a friend who decided to try and use human hairspray on a normal wig, and her wig just like was completely ruined. And one of our friends tried to save it, but was like, I'm gonna need 2 days minimum. So she ended up going with her real hair for the convention.
Yeah. So I just recommend buying products that truly are meant for the synthetic hair of wigs. Even like when it comes to shampoo, you probably want to buy wig shampoo. It's very helpful. Just one of the biggest things that, if you haven't noticed yet in the panel, is just buying the right tools for the job if you have the money. Which a lot of these are super cheap, like they aren't that expensive to buy.
Especially if you spread it out, I think.
Yeah, if you
Just grow
spread
a
it out. I mean,
collection.
if you try to buy all this at once, it's going to be hard, and I've done that with some of it. But if you can like just spread these out, especially put them on Christmas lists, ask for them for your birthday, that kind of stuff.
Question. So with a wig head and putting the wig on there, I have had problems where my wigs are sliding off of the head itself.
Yep.
What do you suggest? Are pins the best way then, or?
T-pins are my personal favorite, but these pins will work.
Okay.
Also, because wig heads tend to be very small, I always put the wig on the tightest setting. But yeah, I've never had a wig actually stay on a head without a pin.
Okay.
It's just the easiest method, and to my knowledge, it doesn't damage the wigs. So all my wigs, when they're on a wig head, have it. Particularly, I like T-pins, but these do work. Did you have a question?
For doll hair, I've seen on YouTube they use fabric softener diluted and put water to detangle doll hair. Would that be okay for an acrylic wig?
Yeah, actually, I did that to this wig.
Okay.
It works very well, and from my understanding too, if you soak it for several days, it does take the shine out of cheaper wigs. I just have used it on this wig, and I didn't soak it for several days. I just soaked it for like 2-3 hours, and then it detangled it because I made the mistake of trying to comb out curls without just holding each curl, just like combing through. That will ruin a curled wig. Don't do it. But yeah, fabric softener is a great detangler. Also, I buy detangling spray that you spray in the wig before you wear it, and it helps. It doesn't eliminate all tangling. That'd be nice, I wish, but I don't think that product exists.
It actually does.
Oh, it does?
If you go into the ethnic hair section and you buy Motions hairspray, it's an oil-based, like it's kind of similar to WD-40.
Okay.
And you put it in your synthetic hair and it'll keep like this wig completely untangled.
Hey, Motions hairspray
On
to keep
Amazon?
wigs detangled.
I buy it from Walmart.
Probably could find it on Amazon too, but
Yeah, I know the product she's talking about usually comes in a gold can,
Yeah.
and it smells amazing. Your wig will smell amazing.
well, thank you very much. Yeah, so Motions hairspray apparently keeps wigs detangled.
Have you ever had is there ever a point where you're not gonna get back to a good portion if the wig's too tangled? Is there where is that line?
I've yet to run into that. I'm relatively new to wigs, despite cosplaying for 8 years. It was only last year that I was willing to start wearing wigs. From my understanding, you will reach that point at some point. I've been very frustrated with this wig before when it gets some nasty snarls, but soaking it in fabric softener helped. To my understanding, so you want some crazy wig tutorials, look up drag queens on YouTube, because they do crazy things with their wigs, and you will see some of the best wig tutorials ever. I've seen them revive some pretty far gone wigs, but even what'll happen is they'll phase through their wigs, some of them at least, will phase through their wigs where it's like less than 20 wears, 20 to 40, and 40 and up. And like, as the wig becomes more damaged, they style it differently and like different things. But there is, especially, and I know we're all on limited budgets, but one of the best things I could recommend with $20, put $20 extra into your wig and get a better wig. Don't buy the $7 wig off Amazon. Don't buy the $10 wig. Part of the reason it took me so long to get into wigs is because I'm a big person on quality, and thus far I've mostly bought Arta wigs, which is a more expensive brand. You're talking, you know, $30 at least for their cheapest wig, to now they have a line of premium lace fronts that go for $95. Most of their wigs average more in the $35 to $45, maybe $50 category. And sometimes they have sales, 15% off or some off select wigs or select colors. I would recommend their wigs. Other good companies I've heard of, Epic Cosplay. I like those wig companies. Arta will not sell pre-styled wigs though. You have to do the styling. The idea of their company is to sell wigs that are very good for styling, but are not like, you aren't gonna get character wigs there. You might get a couple wigs that are just like perfect to put on for your character, but it's not likely.
Right, like I did a Leah this year.
I made him his Leo wig, and we ordered a wig, and then we just spiked it like crazy. Yeah. And huh?
We forgot to take a picture.
Yeah, we didn't have a picture right now, but basically a lot of the Arta wigs don't look the same as when they started out. But that's the idea of their company, and all their wigs are heat resistant. That's the other thing. Don't heat style anything that doesn't say it's heat resistant, and know how hot it's heat resistant to. Otherwise you will melt your wig. And also, yep.
What's a good way to curl a heat-resistant wig?
I personally have done one of two things. You can get rollers, flat iron down the hair, roll up, let it sit. I have also done it with the like bar rollers and just wrapped it around and waited for it to cool. I've also seen people who put in heat, like rollers that can get hot. Like not hot rollers themselves, but like rollers that are heat resistant. Drop it in a pot of boiling water, then drop it in an ice bath, and then let it dry. That'll work because heat resistant wigs will hold their shape as long as they cool, even if they're wet, to my knowledge.
I mean, I have a suggestion for what to do with the bad wig.
Huh?
I have a suggestion for what to do with the bad wig.
Okay.
You could be like a zombie apocalypse survivor version of your character, or your mom.
Oh.
It's amazing I'm alive.
Yeah. Anyway, but those are the ways that I've used. There's other ways too that I haven't tried, but it's the easiest. The easiest way I found is just flat ironing down the hair and then putting it on some kind of curly cue. If you need really big curls, I've even seen people use like the can of hairspray, wrap it around that. You can wrap it around anything that's cylindrical. It just depends. If you don't wrap it around a roller that can hold it, then you gotta hold it till it cools. Be careful too, much like ironing fabric, flat ironing the wig, if you touch it right away, you'll burn your hands. It's gonna hurt. Usually not like bad burns, like it doesn't even last, but your fingers, I've curled a whole wig in a night and my fingers are pretty sore afterwards. Oh, sorry guys. But yeah, so that's the best way I can recommend to curl a wig. The freeze spray, my bangs are freeze sprayed right now, and they stay pretty nice. And then tacky glue. So like I said, I spiked his wig. If you're doing anything like spiking or you need a spike to stay in, just seal the ends with tacky glue because freeze spray is not enough to hold it. Also, depending on the level of spiking you're doing, there is such a thing as spiking glue by Got To Be Glued, and I'm sure other brands make it too. And that works if you're really doing some crazy Super Saiyan spiking, from my understanding. But I wasn't about to like try that, so tacky glue comes in a jar for like in a squeeze bottle for like $2.
And you could use it for other stuff in the cosplay
Yeah, then you
too.
have it later. It's always nice to have things that have more than one use, and then you don't have to go buy 20 new things.
Or you can just steal from your friends and hope they don't notice. Kind of like your food.
Anyway, okay. So, where and what to buy? This is too, like I said, Epic Cosplay, Arta. You can get good wigs off eBay and Amazon, to my understanding. Read reviews. I've never bought from those places, but make sure you read the reviews. Amazon has this nice feature where if you scroll down and people have reviewed it, sometimes they leave pictures. Look at those pictures. There's obviously more wig companies out there. One that I've been curious to try is Wig is Fashion, and that's out of China. They sell mostly lace fronts, but they have a lot of fashion wigs too that aren't lace fronts. And for anyone who doesn't know what a lace front, it's like a wig that has a piece of mesh up front. Usually they're used for characters that don't have bangs, because a lot of these wigs have really harsh hairlines, but a lace front, because of the mesh and the hair being hand looped onto the front, it looks like a more natural hairline, but you gotta glue it down, so they make lace front tape, or you can use spirit gum. So that's a really nice solution if you want your wig to look more natural, but they are more expensive. But Wig is Fashion is a company that I personally want to try. I haven't tried it yet. I can't attest to it. I've seen a lot of YouTubers unbox, and their quality's okay. Again, they're from China, so not necessarily as good as Arta, but their nice lace fronts are about $30 cheaper than Arta. So budget's a thing, but always try to look up YouTube reviews. That's one of the best things that I do too. Thankfully, we live in the day and the age of the internet where you can just Google reviews of X company and find out a lot of information. So makeup, I don't have a lot of tips here either. Clearly, I'm not a makeup guru. I know very little. The one biggest tip I have, changing your eyebrow color. It doesn't look very good today. We were rushed this morning. But if you have cheap Elmer's glue, run it through your eyebrow, a concealer in your skin tone, run it through your eyebrow, and an eyeshadow that matches your wig closely, dab it on your eyebrow. And your eyebrows will match your wig, and especially she's gonna be wearing a platinum blonde wig eventually. It'll look very unnatural with her very, very dark eyebrows. It's not so bad with I have dark eyebrows normally, and you probably can see that through this. And it's not so bad with wigs like this, but especially if you're going something really extreme, or if you have blonde eyebrows and you're wearing a black wig, it's one of the easiest ways that wigs look a little unnatural. So, and miscellaneous. So I think this is actually the only thing we have in this section. Hot glue is underutilized. It does amazing things. You can cast gems out of hot glue if you have a heat gun, a metal bowl, and a silicone baking mold, or other heat-resistant products to dump it into. And one of the ways that you can color it is cheap colored eyeshadow and different methods. So be careful, because you're going to be using a heat gun. Use appropriate safety measures. But if you drop some hot glue sticks into a metal bowl and heat that bowl and heat the glue sticks, you'll get them down to a liquid state, and you can mix in color. And then you can pour them into a silicone mold and get whatever shape that you need, or whatever shape silicone molds come into. Another thing that hot glue can be used for that I meant to do for this con, but I ran out of time actually, so I don't have the actual example, but I've seen it done online. Oh, that's annoying. Last minute fixes obviously, but this belt here, I'm supposed to be making that. And a lot of people make it out of Warbler. Warbler is expensive. You can make that out of hot glue if you draw it out on parchment paper or some other heat-resistant material, and then you pipe it out. I recommend, so for a couple bucks, you can pick up silicone fingertip protectors at Joann's, probably Michael's, a lot of places. I recommend having those for working with hot glue because I'm sure most of you know it sticks to your fingers and it burns because it's sticky. I haven't tried that method, like I said, yet. I've seen it done online. I'm going to try it. I think it's worth a try because it's cheap. If it doesn't work, you're just out some hot glue. Hot glue is a pretty cheap material to use. So, and as of right now, I think that's it for our presentation, but we have time for questions.
We've got about...
Not a question, but coming from a theater background myself, makeup is, to what I understand, can make and break some cosplays too. Mm-hmm. And if you're concerned about contouring and stuff, you can always look on YouTube. But don't be afraid to touch your face and know where your cheekbones lie and where everything is. And that's just a tip I've come across when trying to learn how to do and figure out how you want to do your makeup.
That is definitely something that I've seen too a lot online, is like when people get their cosplay photos back and they just didn't turn out quite as the way they wanted to. Makeup really does make a huge difference, especially if you do ever plan on competing. You gotta wear makeup and like false lashes and stuff, because from 20 feet back, your face just doesn't show. Like even if you do light makeup and it looks really great up front, if you're going to be competing and you're 20, you know, the judges are 20, 30 feet back and the audience is 20, 30 feet back.
And the lights.
And the lighting,
They like
it's never just going to show. It's worth trying to find tutorials on YouTube, like you say, knowing your face, feeling around, knowing what parts of your face it is, finding out your face shape. It's hard, it's intimidating, I understand. I'm just starting to get into makeup now, like trying to really learn how to do the contouring, anything. So at one of my favorite makeup brands, it's really affordable at Ulta, NYX or NYX. To me, they're like one of the best dupes of Urban Decay because they have, I love Urban Decay because it has a huge color selection. NYX has that too. That's usually the eyeshadows that I buy to change my eyebrows because they're really cheap, especially you can always use coupons at them at Ulta. A lot of other stuff you can't. But they make this, if you want to do a powder contour, because there's also cream contours, for, I think I paid $18.95. You get a kit with 8 different colors, and supposedly it's everything you need to contour. 18 bucks. Yeah, I've asked, like I have a friend who works in a makeup department at Kohl's, and to get everything at Kohl's to contour for myself, it would cost me about 60 bucks. Oh, also you can buy pretty affordable makeup brushes on Amazon. Just read the reviews. I've seen lots of brush sets that go for 10, 15 bucks and have like 400 reviews and an average of 4 to 4.5 stars. So you can find a lot of really great supplies on Amazon too. But yeah, for makeup, I'd highly recommend NYX brand. It's a really good brand. And pretty affordable too for cosplayers on a budget because walking into the makeup store can be intimidating and expensive. So yeah, any other questions, comments, anything? Raffle? Okay. So first thing we're going to be raffling. First thing we'll be raffling is the wig stand. Fluffy is Millet? Let me see. I think that's close. Is that you? Okay. You are the lucky winner of a wig stand. Oh, and to the winner of the bias tape maker, if you come up here, I'll explain it better. I know I didn't. If you are wondering about bias tape makers, how to use them, tons of tutorials on YouTube. If you want to come forward and let me listen to me give the spiel to the winner, feel free. They're also pretty cheap at Joann's individually, and they come in different sizes. So, Mama Bear Catherine. Woo! So those are our raffle winners. If you want to come closer and see any of the tools that we talked about, have any questions that you don't want to ask right now, want to hear about how to use the bias tape maker, feel free to come forward. If you want to, hopefully we got all the audio and video of this. If you're hoping to find this on YouTube later and more tutorials, more cosplay info and stuff, we have a YouTube channel, Along for the Ride Cosplay. We have a Facebook page as well. You can follow us there. Like I say, we'll have lots of, hopefully we'll have lots of videos soon. I'm graduating, so it might be a little dry for a month, and then I'll be home. And there'll be lots of videos, tutorials, a lot of information out there. I really want to make that stuff, so thank you for coming.